Hello and welcome to the lecture on organizing your speech. As I say, your path to glory. And I say that because organization of a speech is hugely important. I mean, a paper should be well organized, but remember, in a speech, people only can listen, much like you are now, right? You only listen, and so the structure has to be that much firmer. Also, um, by following organization, it just helps make sure you're hitting all the elements, that you're doing all the things you need to be doing. So we're going to go over the organizational plan that I have for you for in general, some in general elements that all speeches really should have in them in this class. And then I'm going to talk a little more specifically with some light examples of how to do this for informative and persuasive speeches both. And then somewhere in there we're going to have the break. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a lecture break right about persuasive. And sorry the breaks aren't pre-planned. I'm doing the best I can here, folks. Okay, thanks. So the basic structure of a speech, this is an old expression and it's sort of true of papers as well. It's the basic really expository model. It is first you tell people what you're going to tell them. You tell them what you just told them, right? So you say, all right, I want to explain to you the 3 necessary elements to an effective weight loss exercise. Here's those 3 elements. So again, the 3 elements I went over were A, B, C, right? This is one of the things that we do just to help people learn. So the first part that every speech has is the introduction, and there are 4 elements I'm looking for, and those are 4 elements that yeah, they really make for a good speech. The first is an attention-getting device. We'll talk about that just a little bit more in a moment. But yes, an attention-getting device, a thesis statement, where you articulate in a single clear statement what should be in the speech, a relevant statement, and a preview of main points. So those are the 4 elements of an introduction. Now let me go in depth a little bit more on each one of those. So getting people's attention. And extra points to you if you understand the reference to Achtung Baby. All right, so the attention-getting device. Things to not do. Apologize, right? Start by telling people, I'm sorry my voice isn't very good today. Sorry I've got this cough. I mean, yeah, we understand you're human, it's okay. Sorry I'm nervous, right? That's not, yeah, so just don't start by apologizing. Don't start by stating your topic bluntly, as in, good morning, I'm now going to talk to you about exercise regimens, right? Don't do that. Again, undermine yourself. Excuse me for being so nervous, or I don't know much about this, but here's what I do know, sort of thing. So don't undermine yourself, right? Things that you should do. Be brief. An attention-getting device should be fairly brief, just a very few sentences. It's a thing I see happen on occasion, not too frequently, but on occasion in speeches, is the attention-getting device goes 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute. No, 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 no. I mean, we figure 10 seconds or so. You know what I mean? So not too long. And attention-getting devices need to be on topic. One time I had a student say, sex. Now that I have your attention, let me discuss with you motorcycle safety. Okay, well that has nothing to do with anything. So it should be something that's brief and something that's relevant to your topic. So the first thing we hear already gets us thinking about your topic in some way. Things that you might do, ask a rhetorical question, right? A rhetorical question would be something like, how many of you were nervous on your first day of school? Right? You're not looking for an actual show of hands there. You want to also make clear, by the way, that it's a rhetorical question. I think that we're doing these mediated presentations, we're going to get that. The reason I say that, be clear about that, is because audiences get nervous and they're not sure if they should raise their hand or not, and they're uncertain of themselves. And if you ask a question, you get really nervous because you ask a question and nobody raises their hand or does anything. It can be very awkward. So just, yeah, rhetorical questions. Give them a startling fact, statistic, or statement. You'll need to have a citation following it, right? But yes, something that will surprise us, will startle us. So if you are talking about things like the incidence of breast cancer, which affects 1 in 8 women, right? And you were to say 1 in 8 women in their lifetime will develop breast cancer. That means in this class, at least one woman hearing this will personally experience breast cancer, right? It's a bit more startling, right? A bit more startling. Some brief, powerful quote. If it's a quote, that's fine, but brief. I mean, brief. Long quotes, they lose something. Brief, right? You may refer to the context or the audience, something that gets our attention about what's going on in the moment or what people are experiencing. Again, it's going to be relevant to your topic. And if there's a dramatic or humorous story, an incident, something you experienced, a nice anecdote, that's great, so long as it's what? Brief. I understand the irony of me talking about being brief. Okay, so then we get to the second element, which is the thesis, which is the point of the thing. So the goal of your thesis, it should be one sentence. No, it needs to be. It will be. It's one sentence, right? You're stating the intention or the goal of the speech. So it's not a topic, like, again, exercise or car maintenance, right? It's what's the intention, right? Today, I want you to learn the 3 necessary elements for an exercise regime to lose weight, right? So it's very intentional. That's what we're going to get out of this. Or today, you're going to learn the things that you can do to maintain and extend the life of your automobile, right? There's a goal in there, right? It should represent the whole speech. You should not be, your thesis statement, if it is about the 3 necessary elements of a weight loss exercise regimen, that should not be just the first main point of your speech, because the second main point is now about diet. If you're doing exercise as one part and then diet as another part, then the thesis statement, the 3 necessary elements of an exercise regime for weight loss, that's not what your speech is. It's about, what you have to, what you can do today to lose weight might be the intention or goal if you're doing exercise and diet, right? So it needs to make sure it represents the whole speech. And also you need to look at the main points of your speech and see, do all of these really fit with my intention or goal? Do I need to cut something? Right? Think about, as you're doing all this, your audience and their goals and their values. Are you seeing a matchup between that thesis as you're stating the intention and goal of your speech and what your audience's goals and values are? Think about whether or not this thing they're going to care about, connect with, can be valuable to them. You gotta meet people where they are. Some things to avoid in a thesis is being vague, right? So I don't want a topic on a thesis, right? So not today I will talk about tomatoes, right? You don't want to be double-barreled, right? Today I'm going to discuss with you how to grow and serve tomatoes. Okay, well, growing them and preparing and serving them, those are there's 2 different things. So that sounds like 2 topics or 2 speeches, right? And a preview rather than encompassing statement, right? Today I will discuss planting, watering, and harvesting tomatoes. Okay, that's actually a preview, which we're going to talk about in a moment, right? So we're going to look at how those differ in just a moment here. So relevance and preview. These are really important, and these are the places where sometimes people trip up. So brace yourself here, all right? So in terms of relevance, you're establishing for the audience why they care. I referenced this before in other lectures, but again, in speaking, it's really important that you help the audience see why they care. What's there, or as I say, as the audience, what's our buy-in? How is this something that we are invested in? Where is this something that we have, or how do we have something at stake here? You have to find that connection for us. Do not make me figure out why I care about this topic. Because as listeners, we're a little bit lazy that way. And we're not even, I say lazy, that's a little bit judgmental. But if you assume that people are going to be interested in what you're saying just because you're talking, that goes back to conversational narcissism we talked about, right? In terms of conversation and listening, right? So you need to make sure you tell us why this matters to us. We pay attention more when it matters to us. I mean, that's just sort of basic human nature, right? So make sure you find that connection for us and you articulate it. Right? As I say, don't make us figure out why we care. Make it very clear to us why it is that we care. Now, previews, this is what we should expect. So the thesis was that single statement of the intention and goal. This is what we should expect in terms of how you're going to do that. So if your thesis was the 3 necessary elements of a weight loss exercise regimen, then you're probably going to say, first we're going to discuss with you the types of exercises you have to do, the frequency of doing these exercises, and how long your exercises should take, right? Whatever it is, but you're letting us know what those elements are we're listening for. You're just giving us the main points. It's just sort of a quick overview. These are the 3 things I'm going to go over real quick with you. You don't get in depth with them. You don't start explaining them. You're just giving us, here's the 3 things we're going to talk about. So we sort of know, all right, I'm going to get those 3 things. Okay, got it. Hit me, right? Avoid detail. This is not a place to get into definition. It should all be fairly brief. And then we get to the conclusion. By the way, there's the bodies in between here, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but I'm just going to talk about introductions and conclusions at the moment. So you get to the conclusion, right? You're going to start by restating your thesis. Remember I said the model is tell people something, tell them, or tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you just told them, right? Yeah, so you restate your thesis, right? So today I've gone over with you the 3 necessary elements for weight loss exercise regimen. By the way, I wonder if I feel like I've put on the COVID-20, that's why I keep talking about that. All right. Right. I've gone over with you the types of exercises, how long those exercises should be, and how frequently you should do them, whatever your main points were. Right. And then you're going to close effectively. Closing effectively. Ideally, if possible, you'll connect to your opening. And so if your opening was, and it's this thing that people who talk about exercise love to talk about, and they are right, and they say, do you ever experience that sluggishness, the difficulty of getting out of bed in the morning, and you don't feel like having to start the day, and certainly you don't want to start exercising, right? Maybe that's your opening, right? And they might get to the end and say something about, after a week of these exercises, you'll find yourself in the morning eager to get out of bed and excited to start the day, and in fact, even to exercise. I don't know, right? The idea that you're you're bringing it back to where you started. Maybe you reference that statistic. Tell them that, again, that 1 in 8 women developing breast cancer in their life, that armed with the knowledge about detection and treatment, it doesn't have to be a statistic that's scary. And we should know that cancer is a word and not a sentence, right? So do something that would connect us back to the opening, refer back to that anecdote. You draw it back around, right? You may challenge your audience in some way, but certainly don't end with, okay, that's it, or all right, thanks, right? So review your main points and then do something that ties it up nicely, that lets us know you're done. If you think about what comedians do, if you've seen them very much, right? Usually you know when their set is ending because they pull it back around in some way. So you know, oh yeah, this is it. It's done now. I should start clapping and leave, right? So you want to close effectively. All right, so let's go over an outline, and I'm going to pause here so we can have a lecture break before we go into the informative